are going to start our fourth session, right? And today we will discuss about some more details about Android and how to handle events and how to design some more UI, right? So let's first do the event handling, right? Then we will go further for the other topics. Okay, so let's start with the event handling. So let me explain you what is events, right? Then we'll start writing the codes for the event. Events handling, right? So the basic purpose of event handling is to handle the events. Now, let me explain you what are the events and how to handle the events, right? So let me explain you with the detail. Let's say, uh, okay. So let me explain you what are events and what are how to handle them. Let's say I have, let's say this is a truck, right? And this truck have something which we can say horn, right? So we have truck and truck have a horn, right? Let's say a person is walking on the road, right? This person is walking in the road, right? Let's say. Now, this person have a very important thing which is known as his ear, right? So let's say this is ear of the person. Now, we have two things, a person with ear, a truck with a horn, right? Now, let's say if this is a road, right, and this truck is coming, this person is walking on the mid of the road. Now, this truck, the truck driver will blow horn, right? Now, this ear will listen this horn, right? And in response, what this person will do, right? That depends on that person. Either he will go right, either he will go left, right? So here event is this horn, right? This horn is the event, and how this event is handled. This event is handled by the ear of this person, right? Who will this event? So let me put this in a series. This person or this driver puts the horn, like blow the horn, and this is the first event, right? And who listen the event? The ear of this person listen the event, right? Now, how he handled the event? It is written in his mind, right? Whether he go left, whether he go right. Now let's come in the scenario of our code. Let's say I have a button, right? I have a button here, and I press this button. Let's say login, right? So I have a login button. I press this button, login. Now this button is designed in the XML, right? I press this button, a event is generated, but we don't have anyone to handle the event, right? So in our code, we have to write a handler, event handler. So in our code, we will write event handler who will do two things. First thing is listen the event. Second thing is do and second task is second one is do the task. Now tasks depends on you, right? Whatever you want to do, you want to do login, you want to do sign up, you want to open the camera, you want to play music, right? Whatever the task, that this person go left or other, or this person go right. So actually this depends on the that depends on this person, right? Whatever he wants to do. So this is the basic scenario how event is handled, right? Something happens, we tap, we touch, we hold the button, right? So events can be many things, right? So first thing is we tap on the button, we touch the button, or we hold the button, right? These types of event we have. So now I'm going to show you how we'll write this code in this in our code. Like we are going to use the same project we have created yesterday. There now we will tap on the buttons and we will see how we can handle the different events, right? Okay. Now let me move to the code. So this is the same code which we have used yesterday, right? Now let me do one thing. Let me go to this layout. So may I open this layout? Okay, here in this layout we have few things. We have enter username, enter password, and then we have login. Now what I want to do is on the tab of login, right? I want to show I want to check the username and password, and let's say on the tab of login I want to show a message, right? So let's do this. First thing is, yesterday I explained you that if you want to use this UI in your code, you need a ID, right? So now I want to use these three UI in my code, so I need their ID, right? So let's create the ID of UI. ID, let's say username. Edit text is always good to put the type of UI you are using with the type of the UI with the ID, right? So this is password. Now the third one is the login button. Login button. That's it. Now this is the XML part. We have done with the XML part, right? Now let's go back to the main activity, and now let's start working with the uh, listener things, right? So now we have the button. Now we can tap on the button, but who is going to listen the event, right? So we have this button, right? We can tap, we can touch, we can hold, but who? There is no one to listen the event, right? Tap event, touch event, or hold event. So let's write the first implementation for click listener. Basically, touch is known as a click listener. So we have an interface known as on click listener, right? View.on click listener. This will ask you to implement a method. So implement a method on click. Okay. So now I have an on click method. See, in this on click method, I have a view, right? View class. So whenever you tap on the view, any view, right? This will give you the view ID, right? Before that, we have to do one more thing, but let's complete this on click first. So every view have an ID, and yesterday I told you that ID is a integer. So let's create an integer ID. Let's say int view ID is equal to v dot get ID. Now put a switch view ID case r dot id dot login button, right? Break. That's it. Now we have a on click. So whenever I tap on my button, I will get the ID of my button, right? And this is where I will write my code, right? To do write code. Now we have a button, but and Now we have a button, and with button we have a listener, right? Who is going to listen the tab? This method is going to listen the tab, or you can say click. But we need one more thing. We need to tell our button in a code that you have to listen the touch, right? We have give this class a property to listen the touch or listen the click, right? But this button, this should know that I can be clicked, right? Set on click listener, and you can pass this. Now we have done, right? This is the whole process. So the first thing is make your class, right? Implement on view.onClickListener so that it can listen the click, right? So I have implemented the onClickListener interface, and I have given the body of my method onClick, and this is the view ID, view.getID, and switch case, right? In this switch case, we get the ID of the view, and with the ID of view, we also get the ID of the view which we have to compare in the switch case. I hope you guys know how switch work, right? And this is the last thing, which to tell your button that okay, button, now you can be, you should able yourself to listen the click, right? In this case, this human being, this person have an ear to listen, right? And this ear is already registered with his mind, right? Whenever we do, whenever we listen anything, we respond to it, right? But here in our case, we have to do it ourselves. So we have to tell the button you can be clicked. This is your listener. Now there is two things which I want to explain here. But before that, do you have any? If you have any doubt, you can ask. Right? We have to explain this thing. Okay. So now see, I have used this method in this button set on click listener, set on click listener. See, they both are the same method. Here I have passed this, and here I have passed whole set of class, right? Now what is this? See, this is the first one where I have passed this. This means the uh, object of current class, right? So who is the current class? This main activity is current class. And I have implemented this class with onClick listener. That means now this class is a type of onClick listener. So I have directly passed this. Now here in this button dot set on click listener, I have passed view dot on click listener, and I have passed this on click method internally, right? You can say this is an anonymous class, right? Anonymous class of Java. So you can also handle the click in this way, right? Instead of making your class as a view dot on click listener, you can directly create an object of new view dot on click listener, and on click you can give the method of on click, right? So basically this is the interface. We can use this interface in this way, right? To create like to make use of this on click listener, right? But if you have more than one view, right, if you are handling the click of more than one view, so it's recommended to use this on click listener in this way, right? But if you don't have other views, right? If you have only one use, you can do this in this way also. So I'm going to comment it for now, right? So this is my on click lister. So if you run this code, this will do nothing because we have not created any task here, right? So what I want to do is I want to check the username and password. Let's create a string. Let's say username Acadgild. Let's say password, and password is Acadgild1234, right? Now on the tab of this button, what I want to do, I want to get the username and password from the edit text, right? The string username, right? But to get the edit text, first we have to initialize the edit text here, right? So let's create the edit text. Edit text. Let's say username edit text is equal to find view by ID. This method will find your view with this ID from the XML file, right? So r.id dot username edit text, right? Now, see this find view by ID will return you a view object. See this? This will return you a view, right? So what we want to edit text, right? So what you have to do is you have to typecast it in a edit text, right? So this is my edit text, which is defined in this XML, and here I'm getting this edit text with this method find view by ID, and this is my username. Now I need one more edit text, which is password edit text. Password edit text and write password edit text, right? In the same way, we have initialized this button find view by ID, and this is your login button. So whatever UI or whatever view component you are using, you have to typecast the find view by ID object. That means the view in the same with the same object, right? Now I have two edit text, a button. Now let's come to this on click listener. Now a string username is equal to et edit text. That means username edit text. Username. Sorry, I have not defined it globally, so it's not showing here. Define it globally. Make it private. Private, right? Okay, now I have to edit text. Let's remove this. You can also create this button globally, but this is not required. But let me create this private button. Let's say login button. Login button. Okay, now let's come to this username. Username edit text dot to get the text from edit text. This is the way edit text dot get editable text dot to string. This is the way to get the text from edit text. You will return this will return an editable text, and then you have to typecast in a string. Now let's take a password edit text, right? Now what I want to do is I want to compare the username and password, right? So you have to write if username, right, dot equals username and password dot equals password, right? Then I'm going to show a toast. So we have a class known as a toast, right? This toast is used to show a floating message. Floating message, that means a message will come and it will go off automatically. Let's me create this, then you will, and I will show you how it's look. So toast dot make text. Then first you have to give the context of the activity or the component from where you are calling this toast, right? So I have this main activity. So main activity dot this. Then you have to pass the context. Sorry, text. So my text is, let's say login successfully. Now we have two properties of toast. First is toast dot length short or length long. If you say length long, then it will show for a longer time. If you set longer, if you set for short, it will show the toast for the shorter time, right? So this is show. Now let's run this code. Okay, see here my emulator is showing offline, right? So what I have to do is I have to open the terminal. Let's close this. Let me open the terminal. Let's write ADB Android Debugging Bridge kill server, right? And ADB start server. I have killed the server and now I'm again starting the server. Right? Server started. Let me again run this application. Close this and again run it. Sometime it show offline, but it's still connected. Let me check. So this is Android Studio in the simulator, right? So we have an Android debugging bridge, right, and act as a server, and this will help us to run the application from, or you can say, write the application in Android Studio and run the application in your phone or in your emulators, right? So I have used this ADB skill and a start server. I hope it was not working. Let me. So it's running. Let's wait for a few minutes. Okay, so device is not detected. Well, let me close the emulator and run it again. We have again started the emulator. So meanwhile, emulator is starting. Let's see the other topics. Okay, so in similar way, we have handled the click listener. Now I want to show you the how we are going to handle the touch listener, right? So we have other views here, and we have these buttons 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's create ID for them, and then we will detect which button is touched, right? So write a ID, let's say button 1, right? And then for button 3 and button 4. Now let's come to this class and implement the onTouch listener. So before that, let me run this code. It's still showing offline. I think this emulator had some issue. So let me do one thing. Let me use this AirPlay to use this, like to. There is a command to kill the port. So let me kill the port. I think there might be some issue in the port. Whenever this type of issue come, you need to restart the machine, but we can't do this right now. So let me find the process ID of the port in which my emulator is running. So my emulator is running in this port. Which port? Let me find this. 50 and 37 is the port ID. Let me find the process ID for this port. 84912. 84912 is not working. It's saying that the process ID is not valid. Emulator 554, right? So there is only one emulator which is offline. So let us find 5, 5, 5, and 4. So process ID of this is 84912. This is right. 84912. I'm trying to killing the process ID, but it's showing me the illegal process ID. But see, you can see here, this is the process ID of my emulator, which is 554. Let me download the AirPlay. Let's get a rid from this emulator. So we have a tool known as a AirPlay, in which I will run my application directly, right? And then I can show you it in my system, right? This is actually, the issue is not related to the emulator. Actually, this is related to the system. I have to restart my system to resolve this issue. This is something very ridiculous with the Android emulators. Not an issue. So let's install. Let me install the AirPlay for Android. Uh, I have to check whether I have the AirPlay or not. No, I don't have AirPlay. So actually, AirPlay is an extension. So let me find this extension here. Same time, let me download the AirPlay in my system in my mobile. So I'm signing in my mobile. So this is actually a mirror tool, right? So mirror tool, that means I will use this tool to mirror my Android phone in the PC, right? So that you guys can see my mobile in the PC. So I'm installing the application, right? First step is to install the device, right? And open the Droid application, tap on sign in, right? So I have already done this. So let me ask me to add the plugin details. Plugin. So let me add this to the Chrome. Now we are connected, right? So now say bye bye to Emulator. Now you're able to see my screen, right? So this is my mobile. Let me run my application. Let me change the minimum SDK of our application. I have set the minimum SDK of my application to 26. Let me make it 24 so that it can also support the lower version device. My version is 24, sorry, 25. So this is the UI, right? So let me write the username and password. Let's say username is let me type anything, right? Let me add some wrong values, and password is, now let's do login, right? Nothing is happening because, see, nothing is happening because we have set it to this, right? If it is equal to username and password, then only we are going to show this. Else, let me add this else condition also. If it is not equal to this, then say please enter a valid credentials. And let me run this application again. For now, let's comment this code. It was to show you the drawable, right? To getting the assets from the drawable. But right now we don't require this, so comment it and run this application again. Now enter the password. Do login. Please enter a valid credential. Right? Please enter a valid credential. Now let's add a right credential. Acadgild and Acadgild Acadgild 234 login successfully, right? So what we have seen here, we have seen the click listener and how to handle the click listener. One more thing is, whenever you write a password, you should write it in a character log, right? You can say input type text password, right? When you write it, say it a text password, the password will be not shown, it will be shown as a dots. Okay, now let's work with the touch listener, right? So what I want to do is, now I want to whenever I tap on this buttons, whenever I touch on this button, I want to uh, show you the ID, like I have tapped on the button 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. Let's see how we can handle the touch listener. So implements view dot, right. So now I want to implement uh, on touch listener, right. Now it will ask me to implement the method, so give the body of the method on touch listener. Now I have 4 buttons, right? So let me create those 4. So let's say button, button 1, then button 2, then button 3, then button 4, right? Now let's do one more thing. Okay, remove the login button. Now initialize the button, right? To initialize it, what I need is, I need to initialize the variable, let's say button 1, and this is something button 1, sorry, button 1. Now similarly initialize the other button 2, button 3, button 4. Initialize this to button 2, button 3, and then button 4, right? And one more thing which needed is the same thing, login button dot set on click listener, right? We have set the on click listener to this button. Now what we have to do is we have to set the on touch listener, right? So write button 1 dot set on touch listener. This we can pass this, right? Because our class is now type of touch listener. Do the similar thing for other buttons. Button 2 for button 3, and last for button 4. Now we have made our class as a touch listener. We have set the listener in our button. Now what else required? Now we have to set it as a, we have to write a switch case basically. So let's get the view ID. Let's copy this line and paste it here, right? If this is button 1, right, then show toast button 1, or instead of showing a toast, let me introduce a new component. Uh, Text view. So let's remove this button and create a text view. First, I'm going to create a text view, right? And all other things, not here. Let's add it here. Text view, match parent, text view, match parent. Sorry, not match parent, wrap content. Let's give an idea of this text view. Button clicked, text view, and let's give some size. Let's say 21 SP, and color. You can give the color of your text. Text color is let's say Android color dark black. Let's say black. Okay. Now I have a text view. So this is a text view. You can treat it as a label in HTML, right? So in a text view, you can basically add the text. Let me create this text view here. Private text view. Button clicked, text view, button clicked, text view, right? Okay, now create the instance of button click text view. Button click text view, and this is button clicked text view. And see, you have a text view object here, and I'm typecasting it to button, so it's giving me the error. So let's change it to text view. That's it. Now come back to the point. Okay, so on a tap of button 1, what I want to show text view, button click text view dot set text 1. Similarly, for other, I want to create some other cases. Button 2, button 3, button 4, and this is 4, and this is 3, this is 2. That's it. Let's run the application. Application is running. See, 1, 2, right? 3, right? So basically, I'm not tapping on this. I'm just moving my cursor, right? So I'm just touching it, and it's changing. So the one more thing which I want to explain here is how touch works. Say whenever I touch a screen, right? So first event is touch. Even if I'm going to touch it, click it, hold it, right? What I'm doing is I'm touching the view, right? Without touching, you can't do any operation. So whenever I touch a view, a series of events happen, right? First is touch, then a click. If you hold it for a few times, then it is a hold, right? Then event changes. So we have a motion event class here, like what you have done, right? When you just tap on the view, it is tapped, right? When you clicked it, that means if you touch it, right, then it is a touch event. If you hold it, like touch, and then you touch the view and then move your finger up, right? Then if you hold it for 1 second, the event will be changed, right? So this is actually act in this way, right? Whatever event you have done, this will you will get it here in this way. So this motion event contains many type of events. So how you want to handle it, it's on you, right? So I'm just handling the touch here. And if I say return false, that means the event is handled, right? Let's go to this on touch. See, this is the interface of view class. View class has this hover listener, on generic motion listener, long click listener. See, long click listener, this is used for hold. When I say you are holding it, you will implement a on long click listener, right? And this is a touch listener. This get the event first is the view that the view the touch event has been dispatched to, right? So it's obvious that this is the view where event is happening. Event, the motion event of object containing full information about the event. True if the listener has consumed the event, otherwise false, right? That means I just want to explain you this true and false, because see here in this on click listener we don't have any true and false return type, but here the return type is boolean, right? So actually when I tap here, if I return true, right, in the first layer, that means event is handled in the first layer, it will not go to the second layer. If you return false, the event will go to the next layer also, right? So I'm passing false, that in this case, this event and this event, right? If I add a click listener in this button, the both event can work at the same time, right? Because if I'm touching it, then it's fine. But if I'm touching it like a click or like a tap, this both event will be invoked. So in this case, you have to return true from here. If you return true from here, then click will not work because you have stopped the event in the first layer, in the touch layer, and it will not go to the click layer, right? So you can make it true or false. It's on you. If you want this view to work on only on touch, then return true. If you want this view to work on touch and click both, then you can pass false, right? So returning false means you have not handled the uh, event. Basically, you have handled the event, you have done your thing, but you let go the event to the next layer. Right? You are letting go to the event to the next layer. Similarly, here we don't have such type of thing on click listener because this on touch is a base, right? Because whenever I touch or whenever I press or long hold any event, this on touch will happen at first, right? So this was our very basic example of events, handling event. Now, if you want to handle the on long click listener, it's simple. Just implement this interface on long click listener, right? Implement this interface on long click listener. Implement the method, right? And similarly, into this thing, let me use this one. Copy this, paste it here, right? And you can say, let's remove this. Long clicked, right? Okay, now one more thing which you have to do is I have implemented long clicked on login button, so it's obviously I have to register the login button with the long click also. Set on long click listener. That's it. Simple. Let me run this. So do you have any queries, guys? Anyone? Okay, so let me show the UI first. One, two, three. Login. Please enter a valid credential. I'm holding it. Long clicked. Right? When I'm holding the login, it's showing the long clicked. Okay, now two things. There are two more things which I want to explain. So the first one is scroll view. Let me say if I have some more views here, for that, let me do one thing. In this linear layout, let me create one more linear layout. Linear layout. Let's say rep content, and inside this linear layout, let me add this layout. Control Z, paste, and then paste, and make its orientation vertical. Right? Now instead of using a weight, now I want to let's remove the weight. and let's say height as a wrap content. Let's remove this weight. Height as a wrap content. Okay. Now see, this view is not looking. Only the first UI is looking, right? Visible basically. All the other views are not visible. So what we need here, we need a scroll bar. So to add a scroll bar, what we have a class known as ScrollView. Let's say wrap content, or you can say the match parent. Match parent will be fit for this, right? Because I want my scroll bar to match the parent. Now the scroll view needs a linear layout because scroll view required a single parent, right? So let's say the orientation vertical. Let's define this inside a scroll view. Let's define whole view inside a scroll view. Let's cut it and paste it here in the linear layout. Now let's me run this application so that we can see how it's look. Run this. So we have used a scroll bar, right? See, this is how it's looking. Now if you want to scroll it, you can scroll it, right? So if you have your views which can't fit in a single screen, we can use a scroll bar. And this is how we can use it. You can, if you want to use a relative layout inside this scroll bar, you can use it. But keep in mind that this scroll view should contain only single parent layout, right? You can't add different layouts in a in a scroll view, right? See, I have a scroll view, I have a linear layout, and inside this linear layout, I have many layouts, many other layouts. Let's say this linear layout, this linear layout, right? But as a parent, I have only one linear layout. You can make it any layout, any view group, right? I have used linear layout. Okay, now coming to our PPT. So let's discuss about this PPT. So I have done with the events, and we have done with the events, and we have also seen how we can use different views. So today we have seen edit text and toast, and then we have seen how we can handle the touch click and long click listener, and how to handle the events, right? So now let's see the other topic. The first topic is Lint, right? Lint, Android Studio provides a code scanning tool called Lint that can help you identify and correct problems with the structural quality of your code easily without having to execute the app or write any test case. Each problem detected by the tool is reported with a description message and a severity level so that you can quickly prioritize the critical improvements that need to be made. So Lint is actually a tool, right? So Lint is basically used for detecting the detecting your code. So what it detects actually, it detects the unused code. It detects whether you have written the string file in a string string XML, or if you have written directly, if you have written the string directly in the uh, code, that means the XML. I want to say is login. Here I have written this string login in a string file. If you write it directly, that means instead of using a string file at a common place, if you write a string directly, then it will give you a warning message, right? So the correctness, usability, security, accessibility, performance, internationalization. This is I-18N is a international short form of internationalization, right? So internationalization, that means defining the string in different folders for different language. So basically, the Lint is a tool which is provided by the Android Studio, which we can use to check our application, right? And you can also configure a problem severity level to ignore issues that are not relevant for your project. To raise the severity level, the tool has command line interface, so you can easily integrate it into your automated testing process. So you can also add it in your automated testing process. And now we will see how we can add it in the our code, right? So the built-in Lint tools checks your code. While you are running Android Studio, you can view warnings and error in two ways. As a pop-up text in the code editor, when Lint finds a problem, it highlights the problematic code in yellow or underline the code in red for more serious issue, right? If it is a normal issue, normal warning, then it will show that in a yellow, or if it is a more critical issue, then it will make it in a red line. In the Lint, the inspection result window, after you select and analyze inspect code, right? To set default Lint checks in Android Studio, open your project, right? So now we are going to check how lints work. So let's open the project, right? Go to file, right? Other settings, default project structure. Sorry, Android tab here, file, default setting, right? And here you have to check scope. See this. Now you have a lint here in this inspection, right? And in this lint, you can check for multiple things like accessibility, right? Accessibility in custom views, image without content description, right? You can missing label for attributes. This is all checked, right? You can see correctness, Chrome OS, permission implies unsupported Chrome OS. That like if your application is running in unsupported Chrome OS hardware, this is for messages, right? So this we have a lot of permission which we can give here, right? And you can say if I go to this lint, lint can be configured with a baseline as a set of current issue. So you can basically set or check or uncheck, right? Whether you want to like unknown Android XML attributes, if you check or uncheck it, but that's on you. What you want lint to give error, right? So this is for Android, and now you can see then like we have for C, C++, check, general, Google, Gradle, Groovy, right? So this was your lint. See, this is the lint warning. See these yellow lines? Lint is saying that buttons and button bars should be borderless. Use style Android attribute border button style and Android attribute button style on the parent. Right? So Lint will give you a lot of warnings, and if it is critical, this will be in a red color, right? So 19 warnings found, one typo found. If even if you give the typo error, typo that means if you have written something wrong, like if the spelling is wrong, so it will give you a typo error. So this is the lint, and lint is not only limited to this XML. You also find lint here and this code. See, this is the this is a error. This is telling the main activity on touch should call view perform click when click is detected. So sometime lint also gives some type of error which is actually not required. So here it is saying to me that these buttons are not required. Where it is? Field can be converted to local variable. So it's asking me that this field don't have any use globally, right? So we, instead of creating them in a top, right? Top, that means on a class level, it's asking me that to remove it and create it here, right? See this error gone. Casting find view ID is redundant, right? So actually this is not an error. So it's asking me, but you need this button to typecast it. So these are the messages. So it's asking me to add this 1, 2, 3, 4 in a string file to get this from a string file. So this is lint, right? So lint is auto detection tool which is used for finding the errors, right? Errors, that means the warnings or error which can cause the application error at runtime, right? It will help you. So that is actually a lint, right? So any question on lint?
Yeah, sir. I have just a clarification. Lint is just like showing us the minor or major errors when we are coding in a Android Studio.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
uh, those type of error which can cause like error in future when you run the application, or let's say it will let you know that, like in my case I defined the variables, these variables in a top, like in the class level, but it don't have any use in all application, right? So in this
Okay,
case I can also define it here. So these types of warning, using this you can improve your code, right? Code structure and these
okay,
types of things.
okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, now the second is a style, right? The style is actually something like CSS, right? So in where we have a CSS in which we can create a style to styles for our application, right? So here we can also create these styles in Android, right? So style can be created for text, view, button, any. It means anything, right? For any view. So we are going to define a style for a text view, right? And like this style is found in value folder. We are going to create a style for our text view. Let's create a style. We already have a style. Let me show you, which we are using in our Android, like for whole application. So we are using this style, name and theme. This is used for whole application, right? We're using the primary color, primary dark, and accent color. Now I'm going to create a style for our text view, right? So this is our style. We will give a name, then we will set the parent, right? Then we will give the item. So let me create this one by one. So first, let's create a style. Let's give a name. Let's say uh, text view style. Now let's give a parent. Android style text appearance medium. Android style text appearance dot medium. You can also use large, right? Now we need to define the items. right? So first one I'm going to use is the Android text color, right? Android text color, and then you have to give the value. So the text color which I'm going to use is, let's say, F. So I've used this color, right? So let me get some color from here. HTML color codes. Let's use this color. E67. Let's use this color, right? So this is my customized text view in which I have used this text color. And now let's say I'm going to use item, let's say text size, right? Text size is, let's say, 24 sp. Now let's define some other attributes, right? And let's say width match parent, height, layout, layout height. Layout height is, let's say, match parent, right? We have many other properties as well. You can use them. Let's say if you want to use item text size, text. So we can also set the text color. We have already an ID input type, right? So let's do. You can also set the type space. So type space, that means the text color, text view. That means the font type. So let's say type typeface. We have these formats for text view supported in Android: monospace, normal, sans, and serif. Let's say serif. Now I have this style for a text view, right? So let's go to our view, and here I have a text view, right? So where it is? Yeah. Now instead of defining this width, height, text color, size, we can set the style. Let's say style. Uh, @ style text view style, right? I'm going to remove this. To view this text, let me do one thing. Let me write a text. Hello, and see, hello, I'm stylish, right? So this text is styled from this style, right? Which we have written here. If I change this to, let's say, monospace, save it. Let's see how it's look. This is changed to mono, right? And now if I change the text size, let's say from 24, if I want to make it 34, save it. See now it's bigger. Hello, I'm stylish. So this is how we can create a style for not only for but a text view. We can create a style for other views like buttons, edit text, anything, right? So any query on the style, guys?
Yes, sir. I have a query.
Mm-hmm.
For the font size, we provided SP. What is the SP, sir?
SP actually unit used for Android texts, right? To show you. See, this SP, whenever you give a margin padding, use DP, density independent pixel, right? But if you are using size for your text view, then give SP. Actually, SP is dependent on the phone. That means if your phone, right, phone font is big, then if you are using SP in your application for font size, then if there are two things, your application and the font size of your application. Then other thing is the font size of phone. If the font size of phone is small, right? Font size of phone may be a big or font size of phone may be a larger, right? So if you have used SP, the size of your application font will also increase or decrease according to the phone. But if you have used DP, then it will not change, right? So SP means it is basically related to the font size which you are using in your app, using in your phone. Let's say if an old person is using the phone, right, then he might not able to see the fonts of smaller size, then it might be increase the font size to medium or larger, right? And if you have created your application and your application have used DP instead of using SP in your font size, then your application font size will not increase, right? To support the phone font, we use SP, right? So whenever I use SP in my phone, that means if I increase the font size of phone, my application font size will also increase. Got it?
Okay, sir. Like DP, it will change the size, not based on the resolution.
Yeah, DP basically based on don't based on resolution, independent of the basically based on resolution DP, right? But DP will not connected to the, you can say DP is not related to the font size of the application, right? So basically DP is used for the resolution, but font is not related to the resolution, right? So in font we use SP.
Okay, sir.
Because if you use the like DP in font size, so it might be possible that in a higher resolution phone your DP or your screen, like your text might be look bigger, or in some phone it will start looking small, right? So your phone should be look similar to the font which is looking in the application. That means the phone font size or your application font size should be same, right?
Okay,
So we
it will
use SP.
change based on the size of the phone. It will adjust the font size.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. So we have used relative layout, right? We have not yet used frame layout and table layout. I will show you how we can use frame and table layout in upcoming sessions. Let me show you frame and table layout right now. See, I'm using this layout. Where it is? This here, right? So instead of using linear layout, let me create this a table layout. Table layout. Now it is changed to table layout. See, now its orientation is vertical. Let me make its orientation horizontal. Orientation horizontal. Let's remove the weight sum first. Before that, let's do one more thing. So we have used this linear layout, sorry, table layout. See, it's table layout, and this is table row, right? So this is a simple one. Now I'm going to explain you what is frame layout. Frame layout is also very easy. So frame layout is something like you create a frame, right? And if you create a frame layout, and if you add two views inside a frame layout, this they will overlap each other, right? That means a one view on the top of other view. So let me do it. Let me do one thing. Let me create a frame layout here. Frame layout, let's say web content, and let me add a button with this button. Wrap content, remove this. And if I add two buttons, right? So this they both button will overlap each other. See, in frame layout, it will create a frame, right? And inside a frame, they will overlap each other. See, in this frame, this is a frame layout, and this is a button. So if you need to create a view in which you have to show and hide a view, right? Then you can create a frame layout. So let me show you what we can do here. Like mate is with match parent, and instead of match parent, and instead of using this background, let's give the background color black. Now I have two views, right? So what I want is on a click of this, I want to visible, make visible and invisible. Let me draw this, then I'll explain you. Let's say uh, visible button 1, visible button 2. Right, inside this frame layout, I have two views. What is this? I need a background color. Android color green. Okay, I have a black and I have a green, two colors. Its height is match parent. Okay, now come back to this main activity, create two more buttons. Visible 1 button, visible 2 button, right? And I want to initialize their click listener. And let's say visible 1 button, visible 1, visible 2 button, visible 2 button. Let's make it button this and this, right? Now let's initialize their click listener. Visible 1 button dot set on click listener this visible 2 button dot set on click listener this. Now on a click of a button, I want to show a view. Like, let me show you what I want to do. Let's write a case dot id dot visible 1 button break. I need this button to define on the top because I need this on a class level. So let's remove this and paste it here. Okay, visible 1. So now the click of visible 1, what I need visible to button dot set visibility invisible, right? And I want visible one button to get visible. So we can make visible and invisible. We can make the views visible and invisible. This can also be done in the XML too. So when I click 2, I want to get visible and this get invisible. Now let's run this. So these both views are on the frame layout. So what will happen is so when I tap on this, this will show a view. When I tap on the other, this will show the other view. So it's running. Application is installing. Right, so I'm going to tap here on the first, on this one, right? So I have set it to long on click listener. So when I press a long click, okay, that's my mistake. I have to define a set on click listener. Set on click listener, not long click listener, because I have written my code in a click listener, right? So it will not work on long click listener. So one more thing which I want to show here is let's connect this debugger. Connecting debugging means if you are able to debug your application, right? So I'm tapping on this, but it is not getting clicked, right? Check how debugger work. So to put a debugger, you have to double click here on button. See, this is your debugging. Debugging means whenever you run your application, it will when you invoke your code, it will stop to these lines of code, right? So tap this, attach a debugger to Android process. So this is my process which is already running. Let's tap on it and now press the debugger. Now debugger is connected to the socket. Let me rerun the application. Let me attach it to the debugger. See, debugging is here. So to work with the debugger, now go to the next line. See, next line, see the username is blank actually, right? See the password, it is also blank. So it go in the else, and this is break, right? So this is how debugger work. So this is the debugger is coming here. When I tap on this, the two button, the visi 2 button set visibility is invisible, visible, and one is set to invisible, right? Go to debug, next line. Okay, now I press again, press here. When you can set to debug, you can go to next line, or you can just press a to complete whole flow. Just tap on this button, and to go line by line, just step over it, right? Step into, and that is for step out. That means out of the debugging mode. So instead of using this invisible, you can also use gone. Of one should be visible, two will be gone, and a click of two will be visible, one should will be gone, right? And by default, let's say we can set the visibility here, visibility set to gone. Margin right, remove the margin right, we don't need this. Run this application. So this was your, I explained this to explain this frame layout and table layout, right? Okay, now let's move to the other topic. This is your theme, right? So styles can be applied to an individual view or the whole activity, or even for the application. So when the style is applied to activity or application, this is known as a theme, right? Remember, I have shown you this style, right? So I have used this theme, right? Like theme.appcompact.light dark action bar, primary color is this, primary dark and accent. We have used this theme in our manifest file. See this style, theme, app, right? And your whole application. See, so when you use known as a theme, right? So we have used this for whole application. So that is your theme, right? So this is how it's defined. Now the second thing is constraint layout. So this is only remaining constraint layout. Rest of thing we have done. Okay, now we have one more thing, context. We will discuss it. So let's use the constraint layout. A constraint is a description of how a view should be positioned on the screen relative to the other element in the layout. You can define a constraint for one or more sides of the view by connecting the view to any of the following. Anchor the point to the under view and edge of the layout and invisible guideline. So I will show you here in this layout. See, this is constraints. Let's create one more layout here. New Android resource file, constraint layout. So this is your constraint layout, right? So let's go to design. See, in this constraint layout, we can give the to relative to the other position. Let me say I have an OK button. See, this is showing whether it's on the center, on the top. Let me show it in the center vertical. This is my button. Now I want to, let me show it in the center, right? Center. I want to edit text, plain text, let's say. And I also want to show it on the center and move it here and move it here. Now this is a password. Replace this password, right? And you can give a hint, user name. And let's remove this name text. I don't need any text here, right? So in, because the layout of each view is defined by association to the other elements in the layout, you can create a complex layout. You can create a complex layout with a flat view hierarchy. Flat view hierarchy, that means, see, I'm creating this view, right? If I want, I can add any other view. So very difficult. Let's add some other view. Let's say progress bar, right? So if I add progress bar or any other view, I can give a position relative to the other view. Let's say I'm going to, if I'm going to add some other, in one more button, let's say, right? So if I drag it, I can give a position relative to the other position, other views, right? See, this is one more button. So we can create a flat view hierarchy. Flat view hierarchy, that means if we can create a complex view without creating layouts under a layout, right? Basically, layouts under a layout will is a complex layout, and it will create more objects. And let's say in this views, we have created many layouts, right? So this is basically a complex screen, right? If you see the screen, this is complex. And here we have a layout inside a layout, which is actually not good. Basically, whenever we design a UI, it is recommended to use less containers, right? Less containers or less layout, so that your view or your layouts look good, or it will not get occupy much memory area, right? So moving to this, although it's conceptually similar to native layout, constant layout is more flexible and designed for entirely from the new layout editor. Constant layout is available in the support library that's compatible with Android 2.3 Zinzer and higher, right? And you can also ensure that you have latest Android repository support repository version 32 or higher, add dependency in Gradle and Senkel, right? To add a new constant layout to your project, right click on your module layout, right click new XML, right? Layout XML, and then enter support constant layout for the root tag and finish. So basically, we have created it. This is our constant layout, right? And the root tag is, see the root tag, this is a constant, right? And this is the lint warning. This view is not constraint. It has only design time partition, so it will jump to 0, 0 unless you add a constant. So we can add a constant. I will tell you how can. It's telling me that I have to add a constraint that means a proper space from top, left, right, and bottom, right? Because this is by default 0, 0, right? So now I have to add constraint. So I'm adding the constraint, right? So my constant is 55 from top. So 55 is top, from top is not good. So let's make 17 from top. Still we're giving a warning. So let's see the warning. So this warning is due to text view, right? And now add here and make it 35, 35, 50, 84. So make 85. Sorry. So actually, this is something similar to the Xcode, and the Xcode, that means the iPhone development, right? They have created some similar view, and which is actually for the Android, but basically it's very similar to the Android view, right? Like iOS view, right? So let me do this. Uh, for this, let me do 85. You can also create a constant. Let's see how this is how we create a constant, right? And you can also add a constant for this. And this is your size, left, top, whatever size you want to give, you can, right? So this is the relative position which we can use. So this is taking much area from bottom. So let's go there and make it to make a use, let's say, make only 80 dp, right? And let's say one more thing is, I want this to take a space from top, let's say 100, not 100, let's say 80, right? And I want this to take a space from, to take its position from this. See, now it started taking a space from this. Now this is connected to this view. Getting my point? See, this is connected to this, and this view is connected to this, and this view is connected to this. It will take as a space, like the top of this view is this view, top of this view is this view, top of this view is this view, and top of this view is uh, the top, like the parent, which is your mobile screen, right? And I don't want this to take a space from bottom. Let me do 50. No, you can say 100. Right? Got my point? So this is constraint layout. You can define your own constraint, which is very similar to the iOS one. Yes, these measurements are in dp. Right? So in constraint, what we can do, we can create this, create a UI, right? And see, this is a constant on the top of, on the end of this, on the start of this, on the top of this, right? This is a constant. So you can give the related specific position, right? To using this, say this. Like this is now connected to this screen, like the parent, right? I'm just using this, and this is now connected to this. This is now related to this. Just drag and drop. So now this the views are related to each other, right? So in the relative layout, what we do, But we say, okay, we create a relative layout and we say, okay, this is a new view. You create on the right side of this view or the top side of this view. Yesterday we have used relative layout, right? This is similar to relative layout. Then you can say this is more enhanced, right, version of relative layout. And this is actually new layout introduced in Android. And this is how we can use it. See, positions and these things. So so you have to play with this, right? Create some more views, try to place it here, try to place it here, try to connect it, and try to view this views in multiple devices. Let's say in 4.0, you can change it 5, how it's looking 5, how it's looking, let's say 6, right? So this is constraint layout. So any query on constraint layout, guys? Okay, so the next topic is context, right? So let me explain you context. Yesterday I have explained you context, but now today I will give you some more details. Context. See, context means information. Right? So we have information of two things. One is activity or Android components, and second, the information of whole application, right? So this is your activity or components, or we can have the information of whole application, right? So if I say the information of whole application, that means the information about the whole application. That means application is open, application is closed, and other details, right? To get the information of activity, right, or to pass the information of activity, we use a method known as get context. And to get the object of whole application, that means information of whole application, we use get application context. Get it? So we can use it, get context, to get the information of activity. Information, that means the activity is open, activity is closed, how much area the activity is occupying, right? Or application, that means the many information are related related to the application, right? So this is basically the information context, right? So we have two ways to get it. So here, if you are using a context, right, and if you are using creating an image view, let's say you can also create a view programmatically. If you want to create a view, let's say if I'm going to create a view in my main activity, let's say image or button, anything. Let's say I'm going to create image view, image view, okay, new image view. See, here you want to pass a context, and we can pass this, right? Because I have to pass the object of my current context, and you can see this activity is my current context. So I'm passing this, right? If you want to set a, if you want to set your image, like if you want to give an image to your image view, what you can do, you can simply set image view dot set background r dot map dot IC launcher. Set background resource, right? So this is how we can create a custom view, right? And if you want to add this custom view in this layout, right, you can say get. Basically, you have to get the view, and add the child side, right? So basically, I have written this to explain you how we can use the context, right? So any query in context, we have done with the log, right? So we have used this info. Yes.
Sir, here context means it is a, like a concept or it is a class.
No, no, it's a class. Context is a class. Let me show you context class. See this. This is a context as a class. Let's see the definition. Interface, right? Abstract class. Basically, this is the abstract class. So interface to global information about the application environment. This is an abstract class whose implementation is provided by the Android system, right? It allow access to the application specific resources and classes as well as up calls for application level operations such as launching activities, broadcasting and receiving intents. Remember yesterday we have called a method to start a new activity, right? In this way. So here I have passed the context, right? So this is the context application. This is not the application context. This is the activity context. So this is your context information. Got it?
Context means there we provided our class name, no, sir. Class name this.
Yes. See, class name dot this. If you see this activity, let me show you. Let me show you the implementation of activity. See this activity class. This is the base class, and this supports the context wrapper. See, actually, this class. Let me explain you this context wrapper then. Context wrapper. See this context.
Okay, that is a
Got it?
super class.
Yeah, it's a super class. So your activity indirectly extend the context. That means your activity is also a type of context.
Okay, okay.
Get my point?
Yeah, sir.
So we can pass directly this. So this is a long hierarchy. So we are not using activity, we are using app compact activity, which is basically the customized activity, right? It supports many things. If you want to use simple activity, you can use a simple activity. But if you are using app compact activity, this will give you a lot more. So now you got this, why we have used activity or this instead of context, because this is a context actually,
And it
right?
is a Java class, no, sir. It context means is a
Yes, it
Android.
is it is a Java class, but see in Android everything is Java class, right? But they have customized it like Java has like their SDK is created using Java. It's a Java class, it's Android Java class, right? The concept
Okay,
of Java, everything is a concept of Java, but they have written their own classes for their implementation.
okay, sir. Thank
Got
you.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and this is the logs. We have used log I, right? If you want to show error, you can use log E, right? This will show you in a red color. If you want to show the log in the debug, you can see debug verb was warned, right? So this is a log. We have used the log, remember? And yesterday class. Toast, we have used the toast. Event handling, right? So we have done with the event handling. Let me refresh it. So this is one more thing. If you want to create a custom view, right? So creating a custom view is very easy. It's look different. It's look difficult, but actually it's easy. If you want to create a custom view, that means if you want to create your own view, right? So what you can do is just right click here, new Java class. Let's say we are going to create this pie chart, right? So let's say pie chart, right? And press OK. That's it. And extend it with a parent class known as a view. Right? It will ask you to implement the method. So implement a constructor So we are going to use this constructor, context and with attribute set. So context and with attribute set. Remove this and import it from there. Let's use this, right? I will explain you what this attribute set means, right? So we are going to create a custom view, right? Here what we can do, we can draw whatever we need, and we will draw with the help of this attribute set, right? So this attribute set is basically a XML. We will create that XML, right? And we can create our own XML. So here what we are going to do is we are going to create our own XML, right? And we will use this XML in this pie chart, right? So see this, what we have done. Sometimes we need to create a custom view component because of our app's Unix needs. So we can extend built-in view component and add to custom property to it, or we can create a completely new view component. Creating a view custom involves three steps: creating a class, defining custom attributes, applying custom attributes, and applying properties and events. So now we are going to create an attribute class. So attribute and resource. So just right click, new, add Android resource directory, and a value. Let's say still it's not showing the directory. So let me create this attribute. So we have few more thing. I think this will take more 30 minutes to complete. Let's do one thing. I'll complete this custom view and custom view drawing and these thing in next session, right? But this will take some more time. So let's complete this in next session, right? And next session we will discuss about backstack deep linking animation. Thank you for joining. Have a good day. Bye.
Acadgild. Average is dead.